This is numbers 1 through 4 on the Unit 4 study guide. Number 1 says to write sine 30 degrees in terms of cosine. Cosine means like the complementary of sine, so the complementary of this 30 degrees would be 60. So that would be cosine of 60 degrees. Here's the reason why. If you have a right triangle, let's go ahead and put 30 degrees in here. We'll put the 90 degree angle there, which means this has to be 60 degrees. Let's call this A, B, and C. If we were doing sine of 30 degrees, that would be opposite over hypotenuse. If we were doing cosine of 60 degrees, that would be adjacent over hypotenuse, which is the same ratio. So your answer to this would be cosine of 60 degrees, and that's because it's the complement of the 30 degrees. Number 2 says write cosine 45 degrees as a trigonometric ratio. And the hint was to draw a picture. So let's go ahead and draw a right triangle here. And if it's a 45, 45, 90, it means we're dealing with an isosceles triangle, which means this side and this side are going to be the same length. So that's where, in the case 1 that we looked at, if we said that this was equal to a side length of 1, then this has to be equal to a side length of 1, and that's because they would be congruent sides. And if we use Pythagorean theorem, 1 squared plus 1 squared is 2. Take the square root of that to find c, that means our hypotenuse had to be the square root of 2. So now when it says to do the trigonometric ratio of cosine of 45, let's go ahead and take this 45. That would be adjacent over the hypotenuse, and then let's go ahead and rationalize this. So we're going to multiply by square root of 2 over itself. On the top, that combines to give me square root of 2. On the bottom, square root of 2 times square root of 2 is square root of 4, which is 2. So here's the cosine of 45 degrees as a trigonometric ratio. Number 3, it says given a square with a diagonal, so let's go ahead and draw a picture. We have a square. We know squares have 90 degree angles. It's got a diagonal here of 40 meters. It says what's the perimeter? Well, if we've got a square and we cut this in half, we know we've got ourselves a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. And so again, going back to what we said before, this 40 is equal to that square root of 2 times x. So if we take 40 and divide it by square root of 2, we're going to get, hold on just a second, 40 divided by square root of 2, we're going to get 20 square root of 2 for each of these sides. So 20 square root of 2 here, this side will be 20 square root of 2 all the way around because we know that the sides of a square are going to be congruent. So we're going to take 20 square root of 2, and we can either add it 4 times or we can just multiply it by 4. That's going to be equal to 80 square root of 2 meters for the perimeter of this particular square. On this one here, it says find the perimeter of an equilateral triangle that has an altitude of 10 feet. If it's equilateral, it's also going to be equiangular, which means we've got ourselves 60 degrees. It also means that if we drop an altitude here from this vertex, it's actually going to make 2 congruent triangles here. So it has an altitude of 10. We're trying to find the perimeter, so I really want to know what the full side length is. So I'm going to go ahead and call this x because that's the full side length. This would only be part of it if I was solving for this right triangle right here. So let's do it this way. Now if you need to, you can redraw your right triangle now where we have 60 degrees here, x here, and 10 here. And if you look, we've got opposite over hypotenuse. So this side's opposite, this is hypotenuse, that means we're using sine. Sine of 60 degrees is equal to, opposite of it would be 10, over the hypotenuse here would be x. And now we got to solve for x. So first thing we're going to do is multiply both sides by x. And what happens on this side, x, is that the x's will cancel. So now I have x sine of 60 is equal to 10. So to get x by itself, I'm going to divide both sides here by sine of 60. And then those will cancel. And then x is going to equal whatever 10 divided by sine of 60 is, which would be 20 square root of 3 over 3. Now, here's the catch. That is just for one side. We're supposed to find the perimeter. Now, if it's equilateral, that means this side, and this side are all going to be congruent, which means I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 of the same side. So if we multiply this by 3, we'll find the perimeter. Notice if I have a 3 in the numerator and denominator, those will cancel. And so my perimeter is going to be 20 square root of 3 feet.